What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review the RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II. Super cool that RSL was even willing to send me a review sample because they can barely keep these things in stock. They sell them like hotcakes, so they definitely don't need me to make this video. But I am still grateful that they were gracious enough to respond to my email and agree to my request for a review sample, so thank you for that. I reviewed the original RSL Speedwoofer 10S about 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, my memory's hazy, but I do know in one of my end of the year videos, I said the RSL Speedwoofer 10S was the best subwoofer in the under $500 category. And the reality is, guys, I could say the same about this new model, so let's just jump into it. I'll throw the main specs on screen so you guys can check that out. I'll tell you about some standout features. I'll tell you where it's different compared to the outgoing model, what it sounds like, some comparisons, and we'll wrap it up. So, as you can see on the screen behind me, it comes in 2 colors, black and white. Both are matte finishes. The cabinet on this Speedwoofer is something I want to consider a standout feature and talk about real quick. You're getting a 1-inch thick front baffle and 3/4 inch thick wood on the rest of the panels. That is substantial. That is not a cabinet you generally find in this price category. It is a big step up. There's, even subwoofers costing $600–700 don't have cabinets as nice as this, so good cabinet so far. Let's talk about the driver. It's got a cast basket, a large motor section, large voice coil, and it's well ventilated. Again, it's not the type of driver we find in subwoofers costing under $500. Usually, under $500, you're seeing stamped steel baskets, small motor sections, 1.5-inch voice coils, and so on. This driver is leaps and bounds above anything you will find in this price category. So far the cabinet's a big one, the driver's a big one. Let's talk about power. The plate amplifier on the outgoing Speedwoofer had 350 watts. That's a hell of a lot of power for less than $500. This new model has 400 watts RMS. So we've got an amplifier, a cabinet, and a driver combination that is literally better than anything any competitor can offer in and around this price point. The under $500 category is home to subwoofers with 200 watts or less, stamped steel baskets, tiny motor sections, small voice coils, fiberboard cabinets that are, as thin as 11/16. This is a huge step, guys. This is like the pinnacle of subwoofer value if you were shopping in the under $500 category. I just want to make that crystal clear. If $500 is your max budget on a subwoofer, this is literally the best thing you can buy, whether it's for a dedicated 2-channel music system or a home theater. So what does it sound like? It sounds pretty good. The outgoing model had quite a bit of mid-bass attack. It was very tactile and had a strong kick to it. I find this new model has a little bit less of that, sorry, I forgot the word. It's a little bit less tactile, has a little bit less of that chestiness in the kick, and instead it gives a little bit more room rumble, has a little bit more weight in the lower frequencies. It extends lower. It seems to have more of a sense of control in those lower frequencies as well. So I'm happy for that trade-off. I will happily take a little bit less tactile bass and have a much stronger bottom end. I don't know if that's related to the port moving from the front to the back or what, but it was just something I noticed. Tactile bass is nice and all, but when a subwoofer is too tactile, you can run into some integration problems. When I reviewed the original Speedwoofer 10S, I said something like, integration was just okay, or it was phenomenal, but it's $400, it's not going to integrate that well. What do you expect? That's not the case with this new Mark II model. This new Mark II model integrates extremely well. As you can see, I've got the Polk Reserve R100s on either side of me. Those are the speakers I used during the review period. I was able to get the RSL Speedwoofer 10S to integrate flawlessly and seamlessly. So that's another area where there was a huge improvement. So, as far as its sound, guys, again, I know I've said it a few times here, but look, it's simply as good as you can get for the money. It really is. Ported subwoofers I want to talk about real quick because this is a ported subwoofer. Ported subwoofers usually have some downsides. This doesn't have any of the downsides most ported subwoofers have. Its transient response was fairly quick. Its note-to-note distinction was fairly good, and the bass was fairly articulate. Let's talk about comparisons. This gets a little bit weird, guys, because anything that costs the same as the Speedwoofer or less isn't as good as the Speedwoofer. but I'll take you through it real quick. Yamaha C912 and JBL 550p, those are two subwoofers you could find on Amazon for about 250 bucks, and they're not bad for 250 bucks. I'm going to keep this comparison really simple. The RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II absolutely murders those subwoofers. It's not even close. The Yamaha C912, as decent as it is for $250, has 75 watts RMS. Here we have 400 watts RMS. Now, I know wattage is not the end-all be-all of a subwoofer's abilities to play clean, clear, have good extension and good output, but it's just not even apples to apples. The Speedwoofer 10S just easily, by a wide margin, destroys both of those subwoofers. I would have rather one RSL Speedwoofer 10S even versus two Yamaha C912s or two JBL 550Ps. That's how much better a RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II is. Moving up in price a little bit, we've got stuff like the Emotiva SE8. I love that little subwoofer. It's fantastic. It's $330. If you have another $100, I do think the RSL Speedwoofer 10S is a better option. It's going to give you a larger driver, quite a bit more power, a larger cabinet, a better cabinet, more extension, a better sense of scale. The reality is subwoofers under $500 usually have zero output below 30 Hertz, where the RSL Speedwoofer 10S is strong down to 20 Hertz in most rooms. So that's one of those areas where, when I'm telling you guys, like, this is the pinnacle of value for this price category, I really mean it. I'm not just saying that because the cabinet impresses me. I'm not just saying that because it has 400 watts RMS. I'm saying that because it's true based on its ability to perform at those lower frequencies, which is a subwoofer's primary function. So what about stuff that's more expensive? This is where it gets weird again, because I've always said, guys, if you have more money to spend on a subwoofer, you should. More expensive subwoofers, generally speaking, are better. And there's a lot of subwoofers that cost more than this that are better. The Rhythmic L12 is about 50% more expensive at $640. That's a fantastic subwoofer. Something like the REL HT1205 is a great subwoofer. That's $849. Though I do have a small feeling the RSL Speedwoofer 10S might have a little bit more extension in it and a little bit more output in it. What else do we have? There's stuff like, the Rhythmic G22 or REL Predator 1510. There's tons of subwoofers that are great that cost, $1,000, $2,000 that are better. But I think the question most of you guys are wondering is, should you buy two RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark IIs or one $1,000 subwoofer? Let me put it in perspective here. Let's use something like the Arendelle 1961 1S. That's a $900 subwoofer. It's a very good subwoofer for the money. I do think for most scenarios, and this is rare for me because usually if you guys follow my content, I almost always say I would rather to have one of the more expensive item instead of two of the more affordable item. That's usually how I roll. But because this new model integrated so much better than the outgoing model, I think most people will be better served, if they have something closer to $1,000 budget, to go with two Speedwoofer 10Ss opposed to a single Arendelle 1961 or single REL HT1205 or single Emotiva RS11, for example. Now, some of those more expensive subwoofers like the Emotiva RS11, it's $1,200. It's going to play a little bit cleaner. It's going to have like a bigger sense of scale. It's going to have more effortlessness to its presentation. I mean, hell, it costs 3 times the price. So there could be some people who prefer that. But if you're looking for as much output and as extension you can have for the money, it's pretty hard to beat a pair of Speedwoofer 10S Mark IIs. I don't think there's any subwoofer on the market that is just a single sub for about $900, which is the price of two Speedwoofer 10Ss, that could really just take it to town in terms of output or extension. There might be some cheapo 15 I've never heard of, I don't know, but I do think most people would be happy with the pair. If you have any like really specific questions, you can ask in the comments below, or you can hop in the Discord. This channel does have a Discord, and I'll do my best to answer that question, but I do think this is one of those scenarios where I think most people would be happier with the two. As far as comparing the RSL Speedwoofer 10S to subwoofers costing quite a bit more, it just doesn't really make sense, because the reality is this. In this world, you pay, you get. I wish it wasn't like that, guys, but it is. The RSL Speedwoofer, if we use a car analogy, it's like a Toyota Camry. The Toyota Camry is one of the finest vehicles you could buy for around $35,000. If you are shopping for a car in the $35,000 category, the Camry is the best. You cannot get better for the money. But if you drove a car that costs $100,000, for example, or more, you might not be so impressed by a Toyota Camry. However, that doesn't mean the Toyota Camry isn't a killer value. It doesn't mean the Toyota Camry doesn't have killer build quality. You know what I mean? The Toyota Camry is still a fantastic car, but if your data point's all the way up here in, 100K plus territory, it's going to be hard for you to see that, and that's okay. And likewise with this subwoofer, if you're in the market for a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 subwoofer, this might not impress you as much, and that's understandable. You've got, 10 times the budget at that point. But I would say give them a listen. They might surprise you. So I think that wraps up about as much as I think I can tell you about the Speedwoofer 10S Mark II. At the end of the day, and I've said this multiple times throughout this video, you can't do better for the money. It really is that simple. $500 and under, it's not just better than everything in its price category. It's like superior. It dominates its price category. And it's funny to me because I review a lot of subwoofers and it's not like this in any other price category. You get into that $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 price category, there isn't anything that absolutely dominates. There's a ton of really good competitors. But in this $500 price category, literally RSL just murders the entire competition. It's insane. No one can even come close. And no one's even trying. None of the other brands are even trying. Most subwoofers under $500, you've got crappy port tuning frequencies, underbuilt drivers, low wattage amplifiers. They're just not good. They don't sound very good. They've got boosted bass in the higher frequencies. They're not linear at all. They're just terrible. And RSL is just amazing for $449. It's pretty wild. I don't know, if I had to guess, they don't have the biggest margin on this. They just sell a ton of units probably. I mean, hell, they're always sold out. They could barely keep them in stock. So anyhow, if you have any questions, ask about them in the comments below. I think this is a fantastic unit and I'm super happy to see that you can get something so good for less than $500. If there's anything I didn't cover in this video, again, you can ask in the comments below or ask in the Discord. Just keep in mind, guys, I can't make a video that's going to satisfy everyone. Some guy over here might only care about measurements and he might want to only see measurements. Someone else might want to see a sound demo, which is idiotic. Sound demos do nothing, especially for bass. Another person might like my current style where you just watch me talk. And just everyone is different. So at the end of the day, I make the video in the style I like and I'm happy with. And you're either along for the ride or you're not. And if you're not, that's totally cool with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, however. And if you didn't, I don't know. Sorry. Until next time, later.